I'm completely geeking out. I've been a fan of you guys
Ha!
for a long time. So, doing these SpongeBob junkets has been like, yay!
Oh, that's great.
Aw, thank you.
All right. So, I
Cool.
guess the first question is when you both were freshmen at Bikini State University 25 years ago, did you
Yes.
really believe that the plan for world domination was going to take this long to come to fruition?
Oh,
It's
it's a difficult plan.
been a long road. Yeah. We've been, yeah, Karen was very patient,
Yes. Yes.
but she's had it. So that's,
Dare.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I thought that line was great from the film because in reality, I mean, you guys have done something special that's really stood the test of time. So the serious question is, back in the day, did you ever in your wildest dreams imagine that, the series would continue and you'd have your own spin-off movies and have your own origin stories?
No.
Definitely not. Definitely not. We talk about this. Like we thought the show, like in the beginning when it started getting really popular and it was very exciting. And I remember the first time we traveled out of the country and saw SpongeBob merchandise, and I
Oh,
thought,
right.
wow, this thing is really getting big, and it's exciting. But you still don't think you just think it's going to have that normal shelf life that shows have of like if you're lucky, you get 5 or 6 years maybe.
Yeah.
Um,
No, I was on a corner
Great.
waiting for waiting to cross the street, and a car pulled up to me at the light, and they had a dangling SpongeBob air freshener,
Uh
and I
huh.
went, uh-oh, like, because that's like,
Yeah.
that's like a really obscure thing to have of that. That's a weird,
Right.
you have a toy or you have a whatever, but and then that's
Right.
when we started to see toothbrushes and
Right.
everything else, and we're like, uh-oh, so this is
Yeah.
going big, and then so you
But
so
you can't
no,
fathom. You can't fathom
no,
because it is so unusual for a show to do so well. And I think it's really a testament to like the original characters that Steve Hillenberg, created that um they're so dimensional. Like that's where the mining all that comedy comes from is that the characters they're dimensional. They're layered. They're not just one thing, which is fun.
yeah, there's more to them
Mhm.
than just a one note joke, which is
Yeah.
yeah.
You're literally going into my next question because, watching the film, I was thinking about Steven. He's been gone for a while now, and I just would think that he'd be overjoyed to see these films continuing and being produced. So, what can you both say about his continuing vision to the fans?
Well, I feel like Steve was one thing I loved about him as a person, and I loved like what he created was that he was okay with kindness and sweetness. You know what I mean? Like he was okay with that. And at a time when SpongeBob started, there a lot of the cartoons were kind of right, Doug? I mean, at that era, like kind of nasty, like the comedy all came
A
from
little mean, a
characters.
little
Yeah,
meaner. Yeah,
characters
yeah,
being kind of mean. And
yeah,
Steve, brings this cartoon that's so sweet. Like the lead character is such a good guy, and Patrick and their relationship is so sweet and pure and
yeah,
funny.
yeah.
And then Plankton, the comedy comes from other people being around these overly positive people, and it
Yeah, that's
just
where
was
you get the
so.
mean stuff is still there. It's just not
Exactly.
it's not
Yeah,
processed the same way.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it was such a fresh outlook, and I think that's why it's gone on for so long. I'm grateful to him for doing that and showing other animators and people out there that you can have characters that are kind and they're still funny. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're not boring. It's not necessarily boring to be nice.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay, so Mr. Lawrence, when you were crafting the story, right? There's so much good that can be learned in this with couples therapy.
That's right.
There's a really good lesson about how to be nice to your partner in this, which kind of caught me by surprise. So talk
Hmm.
about, selling that idea to the executives. I mean, were they for that in the beginning?
And the idea of what? Of
Of like, talking about a couple like having rapprochement and
Oh
arguing in
yeah,
the
yeah.
storyline.
Well, we didn't even know if we wanted to do it. It was sort of like, well, because you look at it and you say, well, this is a story about a marriage falling apart. You know what I mean? And that's that's gonna be kids will love it. You know, it's and we're like, okay, maybe we should do that. But the more we thought it through, we said, well, no, Plankton and Karen are really the only two married people on the show, besides like SpongeBob's parents, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And we use that and we mine that for jokes and we use it as a thing. So why not use it as a serious story point? It's already built into the show, so why not? So that's what it turned into of us going, no, let's believe in the characters we already have and say
Mm-hmm.
that the audience will come with us if we want to go, down that.
Yeah.
That's what we're hoping is that the audience will say, sure, we know these guys already, and now we get to see more of that, and
Mm-hmm.
more depth to, their characters.
One of the things that really impressed me about this film is, the production values have really gone up as far as animation and so on, but I really like the stylistic changes that were done to the 2D animation and the black and white, and that one
Yeah,
scene where Plankton is like tripping his little plankton head off.
yeah, that's my
And I
favorite.
was wondering, when you guys are reading the script, is that visual cue in there? Do you see that coming, or when you actually see like the first print, you're like, whoa, that's great.
In some cases, sometimes it isn't, sometimes it is. Sometimes we have to imagine it and just read what's happening in the script. And
Mm-hmm.
then sometimes usually there's storyboards of some kind that give us some
Yeah.
indications. Yeah.
Doug is more because he's more behind the scenes, with the writing, and he came up with a story idea and all that. So he has access to probably more of that than like me when I get a script.
Sure.
But even if I saw it in print, even if I saw in print what visually was going to happen, I would not have been prepared for how cool it looked. I thought it looked so cool. I was so blown away. I don't, work in animation on that end of it, so I'm not really even capable of thinking of how it's going to look. So it's a surprise for me, just like the audience, when I see it.
Yeah,
I
for us,
really like.
it was just, okay.
No, no, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say that was part of the fun of it was those sequences trying to figure out how each sequence could top the next one. The when we do the songs and that sort of hallucinatory one that Plankton has is my favorite. So
Yeah, it's cool.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Let's talk about the music because I love the music from the Sandy Chicks film, but this one is actually a lot better. I thought the songs were a lot better, very different, and that whole like techno dance thing that Hydra Karen does, I thought was absolutely fantastic. And so I know that there's like a team of like musicians, and you've got like the Devo guys involved. But Mr.
sure.
Lawrence, how involved are you in actually writing the songs and putting that in the script?
I wrote a couple of the songs. I wrote versions of them that we started with, but we at the time we weren't sure who was going to be doing the songs. We didn't know how it was all going to go. And then when we decided to get involved with Brett McKenzie and Linda Perry, it became okay. Well, now let's, you know, they may have seen the version. I think they did see the versions that were there, the stuff that was just laid out, saying, "Here's kind of the idea of where we're going to go," and then we wanted them to run with it and do what they would do, at that point. So it's kind of up to who you're working with. You know what I mean? If it was up to us, if those guys didn't come into the fold, if we didn't end up you know, reaching out to them at a certain point, then it would have been written differently. It depends on every time you're with a new group or a new artist, everything sort of shifts to accommodate that person's creativity.
Yeah, they bring their own
Awesome.
flavor.
Yeah. Yeah,
All
exactly.
right, let me sneak one more question because I know they're going to give me the rap notice soon. So this is my old footy duddy question, having
Yeah.
watched the show from day one.
Yay.
You guys were on the ground for like classic '90s cartoons, Ren and Stimpy, Rocko's Modern Life, Cow and
Uh,
Chicken. So you kind of run the gamut as far as like this evolution of television. And now I feel today that, they'd never make SpongeBob. They'd never do something that was just weird or wild
mhm.
or kind of subversive. So what's your reaction to keeping that, that element going in the show? I mean, are you guys like constantly fending off notes from the studio suits when you're writing when you're writing the screenplays? I mean, how do you keep it true to Steve's vision?
That's a Doug question because
Yeah,
he's in the.
it's a challenge. I mean, it's something that you have to because we're here and we've been here all this time, but
Mhm.
everybody that makes notes on what we do have changed. So, and it's always new sets of people. So you have to
Right.
retrain everybody who comes
And I
in.
think there are some times while we're recording, and Tom voice directs episodes now and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And there are times when, he sees something in a script or something where he might say, I don't know that SpongeBob would say this, or I don't
Right.
know that, because if you have a younger writer sometimes, or, or it just
Yeah.
falls through the cracks. Somebody says, write something in a script without really maybe thinking, oh, wait a minute, would this happen
Yeah.
or whatever. So, but we all are so protective, not only of Steve and of Steve's work, but we love this show and we love these characters. We're
Yeah.
we're we're all like protective of
Yeah, we do. We know these
properties.
yeah, and we've been inhabiting them for a long time. So,
Mm-hmm.
and which, actors get to play things like once for a couple months, or if they're in a play somewhere, they get a run of that play.
Yeah.
We've been on for 26 years, and so we do object sometimes when we hear things that we're like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I don't know about that. That doesn't sound like
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, we've
uh,
kind of grown up. I know we were adults when we started this, but I feel like we've grown up with these characters. Even that sounds
yeah.
crazy, but yeah.
Awesome. Well, I think they're probably going to give me the wrap notice, so I really want to thank you guys for the time. Totally enjoyed the film, and I'm looking forward for what you guys got coming next.
Thanks,
Oh,
Julian.
thanks. Thanks, Julian.